One culprit, and each year, 450 deaths. 26,000 hospitalizations. 56,000 emergency room visits. 100,000 calls to poison control centers. The suspect? A very common everyday drug. On a weekend in February of 1993, 37-year-old Antonio Benetti felt a case of the flu coming on. As many people have done, he reached for a common over-the-counter pain medication. "I was taking Tylenol like I was supposed to by the label," Benetti said. Within a few days, he was in a coma and desperately needed a liver transplant. Benetti said that while he did take the medicine on a mostly empty stomach, he did not take the drug irresponsibly, which is what many people think must happen in order to be harmed by Tylenol. "I never misused anything," he said. "I took Tylenol as recommended for 3 days. By Monday night, my liver was failing. By the time I reached the hospital, I was near death." Not everyone is harmed by Tylenol. The issue here is that so many are, and that the manufacturer's warnings seem inadequate. Tylenol was originally approved by the FDA in 1955 and has enjoyed the public's and medical community's trust for decades. Many have touted Tylenol as the safest drug on the market. The medication world assumes that consumers tend to exceed the recommended dosage of over-the-counter drugs for various reasons. For example, they may not realize they are taking other medications that also contain the same ingredients. Others may not remember exactly when they last took a dosage. Also, many people view over-the-counter drugs as extremely safe and think that taking 1 or 2 extra pills won't cause any harm. A typical over-the-counter drug has a maximum safe dosage of roughly 10 times the recommended dosage on the bottle. However, Tylenol's manufacturer recommends a dosage that is equal to the maximum safe dosage, leaving no room for error. Acetaminophen, that is Tylenol, bears a warning about liver damage, but no warning about liver failure or death. In fact, acetaminophen is the #1 cause of acute liver failure in the United States. Let's take a look at 2 groups of pain sufferers who may have a strong probability of being harmed by the drug: users who have ingested alcohol and users who are fasting. Small print on the labels do warn against taking the drug if you're having 3 drinks of alcohol daily. This is not the clearest explanation of how much is too much if, for example, you had several drinks last night and none today. Headaches are common during fasting and during hangovers. Acetaminophen is often used for relief at these times. The human liver is normally capable of neutralizing the chemicals in Tylenol's manufacturer's recommended dosage. However, for people with alcohol in their bloodstream or who are fasting, their liver is already functioning at a higher capacity and is therefore unable to process the toxins found in acetaminophen. People fast for many reasons and for different lengths of time. Even breakfast follows a fast. It is breaking a fast if you refrain from eating between supper and breakfast. Low-income children and adults may skip 1 or 2 meals. Many other people fast to lose weight and for religious purposes. When people hear about the dangers of Tylenol or acetaminophen, they often assume that Tylenol only harms people who abuse the medication or who don't follow the directions. Is this true? And is the recommended dosage safe? It is widely asserted that a daily intake of 7,000 milligrams can severely damage an adult's liver, but the level at which such damage begins to occur is predicted to be much lower. Levels as small as 2,000 to 4,000 milligrams have been implicated in approximately 10% of deaths related to acetaminophen, proving that the medication does not have to be abused to cause harm. Considering that a single capsule of extra-strength versions of acetaminophen is 500 milligrams, as few as 4 capsules might damage the liver. This is particularly concerning when you realise that bottles containing 500 milligram capsules of acetaminophen say that the maximum daily dosage is 8 pills. 8 times 500 milligrams, a total of 4,000 milligrams. To add to the confusion around this medication, prescription drugs containing acetaminophen often have warnings about liver failure and even death, but the over-the-counter versions do not. In 2009, the FDA recommended that the adult daily dosage for acetaminophen be reduced from the current maximum of 4,000 milligrams to no more than 3,250 milligrams. McNeil Consumer Healthcare, a Johnson & Johnson subsidiary and the manufacturer of Tylenol, responded that they feared the recommendations could have the effect of steering consumers away from their drugs. To this day, the company has not reduced the recommended dosage. Should Tylenol and acetaminophen continue to be sold over the counter? Consider the following facts. 1. Hundreds of the drug's users die annually and tens of thousands are hospitalized. 2. Over-the-counter forms do not warn of liver failure or death, while prescription forms often do. 3. Acetaminophen is the #1 cause of acute liver failure. 4. The maximum dosage and the manufacturer's recommended safe dosage leave no room for human error. 5. Warnings on the label about alcohol are not very clear. 6. There are no warnings on the label about taking the medication while fasting. See the previous episode for details about taking acetaminophen with alcohol or while fasting. 7. Alternative medications are available that yield the same benefits and far fewer risks. 8. Many experts believe if Tylenol were introduced as a new drug today, it would not be approved. The damaging effects of acetaminophen are linked to over 100,000 poison control centre calls, 56,000 emergency room visits, 26,000 hospitalizations, and more than 450 deaths each year. One final thought. If the side effects and risks linked with acetaminophen were associated with a dietary supplement, it would be pulled from the market immediately. Do you believe that Tylenol and acetaminophen should continue to be sold over the counter?